Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kirill, your Just Sassy analyst, and it's time for my final prediction video right before the final of Eurovision 2026 will start. Just like every year, approaching the final with a little bit of sadness. It was such an amazing journey through all this last month since the beginning of the year, watching all the national selections, making analysis videos for you, now reacting to all the rehearsals, pre-parties. It was such a great time, and it's a little bit sad that it will be now over. But in any case, final is still there. That's of course the night we were all waiting for, and it seems to be quite unpredictable, just as always. So first of all, let's take a look what the bookmakers think, and as you can see on your screen, of course, Finland is a very clear number one, now followed by Australia, Greece, Israel and Romania. So of course, quite some changes since the first semi-final. So Australia very much rose in this chances to win the Eurovision Song Contest this year. On the contrary, for example, France and Denmark fell. And interestingly, this very clear favorite Finland is neither leading in the odds to win the televote nor in the odds to win the jury vote. But in any case, the sum is what matters, not those individual points. If we take a look at the Eurovision fans voting, Finland is also leading. It's number one basically since the song has been published. The same in the odds, you know, once the song Liekin Hetin has been released, there was never another favorite. So in my today's video, I have tried to group some countries into buckets, for example, places 21 to 25, because it's really hard to say the exact position. Sometimes it's just a matter of 1 or 2 points. So now you can see on my screen what categories have I prepared for you. So we'll start from the potential bottom and we'll climb to the potential winner. As you can see, the groups will be places 21 to 25, places 16 to 20, one country which I just couldn't put into any brackets below or above, so place 15, then 4 songs which will be slightly below top 10, so places 11 to 14. Then we will find out which 2 countries managed to get into top 10 but only on the last 2 places, then 3 countries which are very close to top 5 but not quite yet there, then 1 country which sort of stands out on place 5, and then we will move to the 3 runner-ups. So I couldn't really decide which of these 3 countries should be the number 2. That's why we have 3 of them which all have sort of equal chances, one playing more with the juries, one more with the televote, one kind of trying to please both of those groups, and then we will take a look at who I think is the most probable winner. How I came up with these results, of course, based on the betting odds, based on your voting in the Eurovision scoreboard, based on the historical patterns, and just based on my gut feeling. So let's start with the first group, places 21 to 25. And the first countries to open this group are the 2 automatic finalists, Austria and the United Kingdom. I just feel that these 2 songs will most probably get 0 or something very close to 0 from the juries. Also most probably quite low points from the televote. If someone wants to go for the sort of edgy, a little bit trashy entries, they will probably vote for Greece or maybe even Moldova. I just think these 2 don't really stand out and will most probably finish in these last places. Then we move to Germany and Lithuania. I think these 2 countries will also be most probably in the last 5 places. I do not think they will score high points from the televote or from the juries. Both performances are very strong, very artsy, interesting performance from Lithuania, super strong pop song from Germany with very strong vocals of Sarah. Just these songs don't stand out so much, and Germany, for example, will really suffer from the running order being performed second, so at this point of time I don't see them higher. And still in the same group, but more kind of on the place 21, I see at this point of time Belgium. I think ESSYLA will most probably get some good points from the juries, maybe something 30 or even 40 points, but on the other hand, I don't expect anything from the televoters. I will not be surprised if it's just 0 points. I really love the song, but unfortunately it's just not standing out enough in this final. Moving on to our next group, places 16 to 20, I would like to start with Croatia. I think Croatia will do extremely good with the televote, maybe even close to the top 10. Unfortunately, the jury reception for the song was in general not so high. The sort of ethnic-inspired songs usually do much better in the televote because, of course, in the jury panel we have all these pop experts from various countries which do not really support folk music, rock music, and so on as much. Plus, the girls often have some small vocal issues, so at this point of time, I think we will see Croatia rather in this second half of the final. final. The next country I would like to go to is Cyprus. I think Cyprus will do quite decently with both juries and the televote. I don't think it will be 0 points from the juries. After all, we have Greece, which will for sure award Antigone quite some points. So I think it will be just not enough to go into the top 15, but in any case, it will be a good result for Cyprus. For the next two countries, I actually expect the difference between the jury points and televote points even bigger. I think they will be scoring really good points from the televote, being very close to top 10. I was thinking about place 12 or 13. On the other hand, I think the juries will not really feel this because this is just not fitting into this typical pop patterns which they would expect from the Eurovision Song Contest song. And these are Albania and Serbia. I think both performances are very strong, very well performed, very well executed, totally deserving place in the Eurovision final, but I just don't think it's enough to be in the top 15. The last one in this group might be a little bit controversial for many of you, but I think this one will do quite well with the juries, maybe being somewhere around place 10 or 11. On the other hand, I don't expect any high points from the televote. I hope I will be proven wrong because this singer definitely deserves much higher placing, and it's France. Even though Monroe is one of the best vocalists this year, and actually she's performing it really well, just the performance concept itself is not really something memorable. I don't think the staging stands out in the whole lineup, and therefore I think France will not do so well this year. Time for the mysterious place 15. Just to do this analysis for you, I was doing sort of simulation of how televoting can look like with the points, how the jury voting can look like with the points, and just this song had a sort of big gap towards the places above it and places underneath, so it's Sweden. The problem of Swedish entries in Eurovision is that usually they do quite poorly with the televote because televoters know that the juries give them a lot of support, and this year, however, we have a song which I think will not be appreciated as much by the juries. I don't think it will be in top 15 of their voting. On the other hand, I think it will do quite decently with televoters. I think it will be close to their top 10, but just in total, I think place 15 at this point of time is the most realistic. Even though this song is in my personal top 3 of the grand final, I really hope Felicia will do much better than I anticipate. Now it's time for 4 countries which I think will be so close to the top 10. We will start with Malta. I think Malta will do extremely well with the juries. I totally see placing in top 10. It's just a typical entry which juries would usually rank quite high. On the other hand, I think the televoter support will be limited, probably somewhere towards place 20, and then in total I think he will be a little bit below top 10. The next country we'll continue with is Ukraine. I think Ukraine will again do extremely well with the televoters, even though Leleka has this very impressive long note which she holds. I mean, it's not one note, she's going up, but the staging is not really working so well with the song in my opinion. The song itself is also not really a radio-friendly hit, so I think the jury support will be limited for this entry. But Ukraine is of course always in top 10, so it's sort of a risky prediction from my side. Next country in this group is the returnee, Bulgaria. I think many of you might disagree with me on this one. Actually, when I was doing the split results, the televoting and the jury voting, she was for me quite a clear top 10 of the televoting. I have put her, I think, on place 7. On the other hand, in the jury vote, I have put her just slightly below top 10. And just if you combine all those votes, she's kinda out of the top 10 in my case. Dara is absolutely amazing, but I'm kinda expecting results similar to Zari by Marina Sati. I can really see the comparison between these two songs. Therefore, I don't think it will be close to top 5. And the last song which I see slightly below top 10 is Norway. I think Jonas Love will do extremely well with the juries. I totally see him being very close to their top 5. On the other hand, I think the televoter support will be rather limited, maybe around place 15 to 20, so I think it will be not enough for the top 10, but in any case he will do much better than many of you are predicting. Two entries which I see entering top 10 and which usually profit only from the televoters and are usually very much disrespected by the juries are Poland and Moldova, but maybe for a little bit different reasons this time. For Poland, due to the modern tune of the song, due to amazing vocals of Alicia, there will be some support from the juries, probably somewhat equal points from both the juries and the televoters. For Moldova, it's of course a totally different story. Moldova will score huge amount of points, probably top 5 finish in accordance with the televote. On the other hand, I don't see any high points from the juries. I think it will be probably somewhere between places 20 to 15. Therefore, I see Moldova Moldova also only kind of in the lower part of the top 10. So we're entering top 8, and I think it's time to have a small refresher which songs are still left. So as you can see, the 8 remaining songs are Denmark, Israel, Greece, Australia, Czechia, Finland, Italy and Romania. But now, whom do I see on these places 8 to 6? And we will start with Denmark. I think Denmark will do extremely good with the juries. The song has proven throughout many different critics' polls that it can do really well, so I think he will be most probably in the top 5 of the jury voting. On the other hand, especially having the first running order number in the grand final, I don't think he will do so well with the televoters, probably somewhere around place 15, 14, something like that, and therefore this result. Another entry which I see in the top 8 but not really in top 5 is Romania, but for completely opposite reasons. I'm sure this song will be in the televoters top 5. I kinda expected it to be maybe on place 4. On the other hand, the juries usually do not support such entries, so I think it will be probably somewhere as well around places 15 and 14, but in the jury top, and in the end will be somewhere in this area. Next country which I also place between places 8 to 6 is Czechia. For similar reasons as Denmark, I think the song will do extremely well with the jury voting, maybe even better than Denmark. On the other hand, I definitely cannot see televoters awarding it many points. It might even have sort of Switzerland 2025 scenario where it becomes one of the main favorites of the juries and is awarded 0 points from the televoters. I wouldn't be so surprised. Just like Sweden being a standalone on place 15, I see the next country being a standalone on place 5, and it's Israel. I think Israel will do extremely well with the televoters, everyone expects that. They're definitely number 1 bookmakers favorite to win the televote. I don't really see them coming first in the televote this year, nevertheless they will have more than 200 points. I think the juries might award them more points this year. It's very strong, modern, pop radio friendly song with extremely strong vocals and very impressive performance. So it will be definitely another great result for Israel, but I think it's not quite enough to be in top 3 this year. And now it's the toughest part, our 4 big contenders for victory this year. I have to say, from my simulation where I was trying to see what kind of points the juries will award and what kind of points the televoters will award, all these 4 countries were very close to each other, sort of in the span of 30 points between place 4 and place 1. But of course I had to pick for you one winner, therefore let's see which 3 countries also have great chances, but most probably are not winning this year. So we will start with Greece. I think Greece is the main contender to win the televote this year. I see so much support and love for the song, especially from the eastern and southern countries. On the other hand, Ferto will probably not score so much from the juries. I think he might be still even in top 10 or very close to the top 10 in the jury vote, and then in the sum it's just not enough to win, but he will be still very high. The next entry is maybe a little bit more surprising to you, but I think it will constantly do very well in both the jury voting and especially in the televote, and it's Italy. I think Italy has a great chance to maybe even finish on 2nd place this year in the televotes, so somewhere with maybe 230, 240 points or something like that. The juries usually also rank Italy very good. This song is just such a catchy tune, maybe not a typical Eurovision song, maybe not something what Eurovision fans appreciate so much, but I think it will have a very broad appeal. It has a very clever staging, so I definitely see it still as a big contender to maybe even win this year. And now moving on to the last country, which is almost winning, but not quite this year, and I think it will be Australia. I think Australia is most probably winning the jury vote. There are not really so many favorites to win the jury vote this year apart from Australia and Finland, so I really hope for a massive jury score, maybe something like 300 points for Australia this year. On the other hand, I think the televoter support will be quite limited, most probably from the Nordic countries, Western countries, Central European countries. Delta will score quite some points, but let's say Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, they usually do not feel this typical classical pop anthems. So probably just around 100 points from the televoters, and then in total it might be just a little bit not enough to catch up with Finland, so it might be a repetition of the scenario which we already had in 2016 with Dami. In general, I love this performance. For me, this might be even the best Eurovision performance and the best Eurovision song ever, but I just love Delta Gudrun, you know I'm biased, that's why I'm just putting her in second place and keeping my fingers crossed that maybe she will be victorious. Which means that bookmakers and Eurovision fans, in my opinion, are right this year, and Finland is winning Eurovision 2026. I think they will most probably finish second in the jury vote, in the televoting, maybe even lower. In my current calculation, they were somewhere around place 5 or 6 in the televoting, because there are just some other big televoting favorites this year. You know, we rarely have the sort of situations in Eurovision Song Contest when the song gets released, immediately becomes such a huge favorite, such a hit in the Eurovision fandom, and stays on place 1 up to the final night. This is very exceptional. We had it just few times in the Eurovision history in the last, 10-15 years. That's why I think that the guys truly deserve to win. This is such a great song, will be such a great Eurovision winner, and then next year we will meet up in Finland. So these were the results which I expect to see on Saturday night. Of course, there are always some surprises, and I'm really curious to hear from you. Where do you think I got it wrong? Where I was maybe too optimistic or too negative about some entry? Whom you will be rooting for on Saturday night? I'm definitely voting 20 times, so 10 times from one device, 10 times from another device for Australia. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, to like this video, it will help me enormously, and very soon I will release my video where we will talk about the actual results of Eurovision 2026. Can't wait.